Hi everyone, I'm Frank Daniels, and you're watching Football DataLab. We work with a database of over 30,000 active professional players across more than 80 performance metrics. Today, we're looking at how passing accuracy distributes across leagues, positions, and roles. In front of us is a histogram covering almost 11,000 players. Look at the shape. There's an immediate rightward skew. The majority of players in this sample are completing more than 80% of their passes. That's not a coincidence, and it's not a data artifact. The median sits clearly somewhere above 85%. But here's what catches the eye. The left tail still exists. Players below 70% accuracy? Who are they exactly? Outliers by position, by league, by team role? That distribution alone raises three questions. Do certain leagues create conditions for accurate passing, or do they simply recruit different types of player? Does position determine a number more powerfully than country does? And within a single role, is there a spread we're just not seeing at first glance? Okay, we have the broad picture. Now let's see how those numbers look when we break them down by...
We already looked at the overall distribution of passing accuracy. Now let's see which leagues produce the most precise passers. The chart covers 8 leagues and nearly 3,200 players. Saudi Arabia and France sit at the top, not the obvious result you'd expect. Squad composition is one explanation. The Saudi Pro League carries a lot of experienced, older players with settled styles. They take fewer risks, playing the ball back or square far more often. Tactical context matters too. Lower pressing intensity gives players time to settle and pick their pass. The numbers rise almost automatically. France is the more interesting case. League One has a reputation for attacking football, but what seems to be driving this is a high proportion of central midfielders playing conservative build-up roles. Sweden and Portugal sit at the bottom, more vertical football, more misplaced passes. That explains the geography of the leagues. Now let's look at how passing accuracy shifts depending on...
Countries give us a geographical slice. But the more revealing angle is how pass accuracy shifts depending on position on the pitch. Over 7,000 players in the sample, and the gap turns out to be almost entirely predictable. Center backs are the most accurate passers, around 85%. Defensive midfielders sit right alongside them. That makes sense. Both operate in areas of lower pressure, and their primary job is to retain the ball, not to create danger. One explanation is positional. The further you are from the opposition's goal, the easier it is to find a teammate. The other is role-based. Center backs and defensive midfielders default to short horizontal passes. That is simply their function. Attacking midfielders come in noticeably lower. They take the risk onto themselves, and the numbers reflect that honestly. Okay, we have covered positions. Now let's see how all of this...
We've already seen how pass accuracy shifts depending on position. Now for the final cut. Does a player's overall level actually change how he handles the ball? Among almost 11,000 players in our sample, the top 10% by rating pass noticeably more accurately than everyone else. The gap is small in absolute terms, but it's consistent, and that consistency matters. One explanation is that elite players read situations better and select passes they know they can complete. Another is that their teammates move more predictably, which reduces turnovers regardless of individual technical ability. There's no simple causality here. A high rating isn't always the result of accurate passing. Rather, both figures reflect the same underlying decision-making culture on the pitch. So pass accuracy isn't just about technique. It's about position, league context, and how a player understands his own role within the team. If this kind of analysis interests you, subscribe, and we'll be back in a few days with more breakdowns from the same dataset.